Hi everyone, we are officially done with all of the college football conference championship games, and let's just start off with a wow for the ending of the Clemson SMU game. That's got to be a top 5, maybe even number 1 best kick ever in college football. I can't think of too many field goals that are 50 plus, and with the new situation, I mean, Clemson, you have to hit that field goal if you want to make the playoffs, right? That game could still go into overtime, sure, but you don't know what's going to happen there. 50 plus to send you guys into the college football playoff and give you a chance at a natty. Man, that was awesome. Now, the flip side of that is, where does SMU end up? Now, we have rankingsrightnow.com. We have machine learning models that are predictive based upon historical voting of the playoff committee. Let's look at where the playoff committee is expected to rank each of these teams and what we think that final 12 playoff is going to look like based on the different seedings, who's going to have a bye, who's in, who's out, because I have a feeling that Clemson's not going to be ranked in the top 12, top 13, but they're in. So someone's got to go. Who's it going to be? Let's go ahead and look at www.rankingsrightnow.com. You can create a free login for whoever wants to participate. You can play in the what if simulation tool. Man, let's dive into this a little bit. Okay, here is what Rankings Right Now is predicting the playoff to look like tomorrow. On Sunday, they're announcing it, right? We don't have to wait till Tuesday. So here it is. Oregon wins the Big Ten championship. They're the automatic number 1, right? There's no reason for them to drop it all. Georgia beats Texas. This is where things get interesting. Where does Georgia move up to? How does that play in with Notre Dame, right? Penn State. How does all of that come into play? So according to this, it's going to go Oregon, Georgia with the number 2 ranking and the number 2 seed. Then it would go for the 3 seed, it would be Boise State winning their conference championship game. And then you have to go all the way to Arizona State at 11 to get the bye. So that would be the byes. You have Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, Arizona State. Those are your top 4. Then the model starts to get into the home game scenarios for the first round of the playoffs. According to the algorithm, Texas is going to drop below Notre Dame. Now, I'm very curious on where the playoff committee is going to land on this, right? Notre Dame didn't play a game this weekend. They've kind of alluded a little bit to, hey, teams that are not playing this weekend can't pass other teams that also aren't playing this weekend. Well, what happens of a team that isn't playing this weekend that is as highly ranked as Notre Dame was? The Texas losing again to Georgia maybe put a little bit of a question mark in the playoff committee on who you're going to play. Should we rank Notre Dame 5 and Texas 6? Do you flip-flop them? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It only really matters on who they're going to play in the first round of the playoff, which we're going to get to in a second. But Penn State losing to Oregon, Penn State put up their best shot. And they came pretty close, right? That was a really good football game. I don't think Penn State drops below Ohio State in this scenario. Even though Ohio State has the tiebreaker over Penn State in terms of regular season, I think you still give Penn State a little bit of credit and you keep Penn State ahead of Ohio State. So that's what the model is thinking right now. Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Penn State as your top 5, right? Then we get to Ohio State and Tennessee. Boise State jumping up a couple spots up to number 8 in the rankings. And it doesn't really matter for them. It's not like, because you still have that 5 through 8 are going to get 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 5 through 8 are going to get buys. They already get a bye because they're the top 4 conference ranked teams. So they're already good. Indiana staying there. Now let's get to the fun part. according to the algorithm, in a normal situation, the playoff committee would put SMU down at 13. Do I think that they will be ranked below Miami? No. But even put them there, put SMU at 12. They're not in. Because Clemson gets that last spot. Clemson is going to get the number 12 seed. Arizona State's going to get the number 11. They might get the 10, but I don't see a scenario where SMU only drops 2 or 3 slots in the rankings. Think about where Clemson was before this, right? If we looked at a regular situation and we said the number 8 team lost to the number 17 team, would you keep the 8 in the top 12? Or at 11? You only drop them 3 spots for losing to the number 17? No, typically we would see a bigger jump for that, right? I'm even a little bit surprised that Clemson is over here at 15, right? It doesn't really matter over here. Clemson's in. So, as of right now, I have a feeling that SMU is going to be ranked 12th and be out. I think they're going to leave Alabama in. The model thinks that Alabama is going to stay in. I don't see a scenario where Arizona State moves up to 10, Alabama stays and drops down to 12 and drops out of the playoff, and you keep SMU in. Now, that SMU Clemson game was so much fun that it could happen, but I would be surprised. That would be a surprising thing to do. That's the only way that this happens. SMU would have to only drop 3 spots down to 11. Or sorry, they could drop 2 spots, I guess. They could drop 2 spots to 10, Arizona State to 11, Alabama to 12, and they would be out. I think they're going to do a non-typical ranking type of thing like they did with Florida State last year, right? I think what they're really going to try and do here is either you have to squeeze out Alabama or you have to squeeze out SMU. And if you squeeze out SMU over Alabama, there is going to be an eruption on the college football fan base. All over the country, people are going to be incensed that you punished a team for playing in a conference championship game. Now, if Clemson had beaten South Carolina last weekend, right? Let's go into the what if simulation tool and actually play around with that scenario. That's actually really interesting. I have not done this, so let's play around. We're going to go to the what if simulation tool, and we're going to go back to week 15. Sorry, okay, yes. Miami loses to Syracuse, right? And Clemson loses to South Carolina. Let's say Clemson beats South Carolina 17-14. Let's flip that score real quick. We're going to run the simulation. So everything else projects forward on the website. So we're going to go back to week 15. And what would have happened? Clemson would have been a top 10 team. If Clemson could have beaten South Carolina, that would have sent South Carolina down to 18, Clemson up to 10. Now you have SMU versus Clemson, and if I think this is going to do what I expect it to do, Clemson beating SMU would have put them up to 6. SMU dropping down to 12. Alabama at 13. Now, let me make sure that the math is right. And I think in this scenario, it just would have taken the top 12. SMU's in. They're ranked over Alabama. That's the fun thing with the what if simulation tool. And that's what I really like to do instead of just saying, like going back in history and flipping some things really changes. So if Clemson beats South Carolina, now Clemson is touted as a much more appropriately highly ranked team, but since they lost to Louisville, since they lost to South Carolina, everyone was down on Clemson. But now they just made it so interesting because they won the conference championship, and so you get this automatic bye. And that forces all this strangeness to happen. Because now you have to keep Arizona State in. They're officially in. They're going to be a ranked team they're going to get an automatic bye. In this case, actually, as a matter of fact, Clemson would have gotten a bye. It would have been Oregon, Georgia, Clemson, Boise State. Arizona State would have been not having a bye this week. It all has to do with that Clemson-South Carolina game last weekend. That's really interesting. I find that to be a lot of fun. I love the what if simulation tool for that exact reason. So going back to where we are today, right? Here were the final scores that we saw. Whew. That South Carolina and Clemson game. Even here, it's kind of funny, right? Clemson, is the playoff committee's going to rank Clemson ahead of South Carolina after South Carolina just beat Clemson? This is why rankings are kind of strange. They're a really strange thing. As of right now, Clemson is ahead of South Carolina in the rankings. South Carolina just beat Clemson 5 minutes ago. Everyone was pulling for South Carolina to be involved, right? That's caused so much drama. I think that's Clemson and South Carolina game might be one of the most meaningful games of the entire year. And I'm wondering if people are going to be talking about that. Going into the playoff committee, whatever the rankings release is going to be, it's so crazy what that is going to cause. Because the playoff committee is going to look silly when they have to rank Clemson ahead of South Carolina. According to this is what's going to happen, right? Are you going to put Clemson ahead of South Carolina when South Carolina just beat Clemson? And is SMU going to get pinched out because you gave Alabama favoritism in this situation and they didn't have to play? Crazy. We'll find out tomorrow. Go to rankingsrightnow.com, create a free login. You can play around with more what if simulation tools, other games that had a big impact. Go a couple way back and go to LSU South Carolina and give them that pick 6 back. You know, you can see where South Carolina ends up in the rankings. That Clemson South Carolina game is crazy. The more that I get to think about it. So much fun. So anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. This is going to be one of our final videos because we're going to be done with rankings. We're not going to be predicting rankings anymore after this weekend. So it's been a really great, fun first year. I've had a blast. I've learned so much. I've got such great feedback. We're going to be working on improving the algorithms in the off season. It was always the intention for this first year to just see if people would be interested in this subject. And it seems like people are. Thank you so much for all of the feedback and the comments, and I've really enjoyed the entire year. Hopefully the predictions are close to what we want. The better that they are, the more fun this is, the more accurate we can utilize talking about what if simulations, whatever the case is. But this has been great. So thank you so much. Have a great off season. We'll catch you at the very end and see who makes this 12-team playoff. Take care.